Um, we have finance in the house, right? Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me just call the meeting to order and welcome everyone for joining us. Because we don't have our forum right now, we're just going to cover things that don't need any voting. So if we're ready, we can go ahead and start off financial reporting.
All righty. I can go ahead and share screen and we'll just start with Carolina Shores and we can go from there. Let me share. All righty. Can y'all, oh no, one more click. There we go. Can y'all see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So overall, looking at Carolina Shores, um, obviously, there's the email from May with some of the funding adjustments. So that'll kind of pivot around, start catching everything up. But just looking at April versus March, revenue stayed the same, just because, obviously the student count and everything hasn't come into effect yet, and that base funding. Operating expenses had a downtick as well as net income had a positive impact from the month prior. And then you can see on here, I know there's been a good bit of communication, and Kim's working on y'all's federal programs with Montana to get those kind of caught up. Um, but overall, if I just come on down here, you can see again the funding shift, which there'll be another one that coming for next month, and other federal funding kind of coming through as that starts kind of dwindling down through the rest of the year. Your budget surplus deficit, you're basically right on the nose. Currently, it's been in a downtick throughout the last part of the year, especially once that 45-day adjustment and the calculation error from SCPCSD was adjusted. And that's where you can kind of see it kind of trending down and balancing out with about where it was expected for budget. It should stay right there around budget. There may be a slight under the budgeted line come the end of the year, but still trending right in line. Days cash on hand is still, even with the downtick in funding, is still trending above the 45-day kind of benchmark, which is good. Sitting over 50 days cash on hand, which is positive, and even with your net income still kind of dwindling down based on budget with that funding shift, your days cash on hand ever since then has basically stayed pretty flat, which is positive. Overall, I'll go ahead and cruise down to the budget real quick. Alrighty, that is super small, so we'll zoom this in. Overall, looking at your total revenue for the year at 78%, which primarily the big lag there is just, getting with federal funds and everything in there, which, as I mentioned earlier, I know Kim has been working on getting those in, and I saw the email related to some of the schools' federal programs coming through, so those should start catching up. Get those in there, but overall still trending pretty close looking at it as an overall picture. And then looking down down below, just looking at total expenses in general, it's at 77%, so it's actually trending less than where technically kind of should be around that kind of benchmark. But the biggest thing to kind of take away from it is looking at that your expenses are 77% of your budget through April, where your revenue is 78. So your revenue is trending, albeit just 1%. It's still trending faster than your expenses, which is just positive to see. Don't want to see it in the reverse where expenses are kind of overshooting and revenue's not keeping up. So, but overall, there will be some shifts coming in May and June just based on the funding calculation. And I know we have the budget too that we will look through as well. But wanted to see if anybody had any questions on Carolina Shores financials or anything wanted me to kind of dive a little bit more into. All
Seemed like it.
right. I'm going to pop this over here real quick and then I'll pull up Low Country. Done. There we go. All righty. All right, looking at Low Country Acceleration, same general story as Carolina Shores. Biggest thing on the funding side is just the federal programs right now. Outside of that, though, trending versus prior month, a lot of green on there, so that's positive to see. Obviously, with the operation or operating expenses, there's obviously going to be that uptick with the additional expenses this year. So that fiscal year to date comparison to prior year is expected, as well as the net income. But overall, still performing really well. We'll go on down here to your funding. So you'll see a shift in your May funding based on your 135-day count. That'll be kind of the last funding to take you through the remainder of the year. And then what you'll be funded off of for the beginning of next fiscal year. But overall, it's trending really well. Student count's been increasing pretty consistently over the year and the count. So that's positive to see, which you can see that reflection on your budgeted surplus versus deficit versus your actual surplus versus deficit. You're trending pretty far over what you had originally budgeted. So, and that's continuing to climb, which is good. There's no real concerns there as it relates to the budget for Low Country. And same thing with days cash on hand, have been sitting over 100 days cash on hand throughout this entire year, which is really positive. That's probably one of the higher ones from all the schools that we work with so far. So that is very impressive. We'll go down to the budget. Let me keep going. I'm gonna have to zoom in again. So it's not like reading Braille. There we go. So income sitting at 77% overall. Obviously state funding, it says, 213% is actual, but in the grand scheme of things, it's only over budget by 5,000. So it's not a huge shift there. But have some additional funds kind of coming in on federal. Biggest reason it's kind of overshot versus budget is rollover funds. That'll always kind of come into play a little bit there. But overall, sitting around 77% of your total budget, which is good when it comes to revenue. And then we'll bounce down here to expense just to look at the total, and then can always bounce up. But same as Carolina Shores, just a little bit more of a gap between your expenses and revenue. Total expenses are at 73%, where revenue, like I was noting up above, is sitting up at 77. So you have a pretty good gap between the two, which is good to see. The 4% gap between your revenue and expenses, but overall trending really well. The only real pockets that are jumping out or over budget lines in the general expense, like total expense wise, isn't a ton of funds. The only one that honestly is sitting a little funky looking, as I know we've talked about before, is just going to be the personnel split, which we adjusted that on this year's budget. So, or this coming year's budget. So that'll look a little bit better because obviously you can see here contract services it's at 53, but it's actually higher because 2 million of that is sitting up above. But overall, everything's looking good for both schools. Biggest thing just focusing on, I know we have Kim, who y'all have talked with already, working through getting everything kind of caught up with the federal programs with y'all, and just kind of getting towards the end of the year. But yeah, everything for Low Country is looking really healthy.
Yeah.
Any questions on Low Country Accelerations, April financials? Want to have them open? Alrighty. Do y'all want to go ahead and pivot over to the budget, or I know it sounded like we had some other people join.
Yeah,
Didn't
go
know if
ahead
y'all
and,
need.
you can go ahead and continue on to that.
Okay, perfect. So I will go ahead and pull up Carolina Shores. There was just I believe, yep, everything stayed the same on here. The only question I did have for y'all is I saw your email this morning on the on the CSI state and federal for both schools, which Carolina Shores currently doesn't have that on their budget. I'll just add it into here. If you have the actual or what you're projecting the budget to be used for and can kick that over to me, I can build that into here because then I can just add the revenue and then I'll just need to add the expenses. Biggest question would be if there are any expenses, if there are going to be additional expenses that the school is just using those funds to go buy certain things, or if some of those, if some of the CSI federal and state are going to actually reduce any of the general fund numbers. Does that make sense?
Yes. Bryce, I met with both teams, directors, and also our state transformation coach, and just letting the board know the recommendation is to utilize those funds for a testing coordinator for each site, having a testing coordinator. So it looks like it's more so putting staff in place. And then our numbers, because of the numbers being so high at Low Country, also including an additional school counselor. Currently, the ratio should be 300 to 1, but we're over that here at Low Country. So, staffing for those, for the current funds, and I'll circle back to Michelle at Carolina Shores to see what additional ways we could take a look at those funds as well.
Okay. Yeah, because the federal, especially if adding in funds, it's going to end up being, still we'll want to add it on here,
Okay.
for y'all's final pieces, but it's going to be a net zero result unless it's taking away from other stuff, like taking expenses out of general. But adding additional ones is going to end up being your surplus deficit from general funds will remain unchanged.
Right. Yeah. So we're not taking anything out of the general. We're just using those funds that we have. So it won't be any reductions.
Okay. So looking at Carolina Shores, still budget at 290 students. Um, Putting your state funding for next fiscal year just over 3.7 million.
Mhm.
And then your federal funding based on your other federal funds allocations is going to have federal funding of 90 grand. Um, Bringing total revenue for next fiscal year at 3.8. roughly. I know we had talked about the contracted salaries, which, as I add those in there, if you just give me those breakdowns, I can build them into this budget and kick that back over of, who's where out of that money. But overall, management fees or management services to Acceleration Academy is currently budgeted at 3.1, a little over 3.1 for next fiscal year. And then down in contracted services, additional funds out there, biggest pocket in here is going to be your student transportation, which has a annual increase of 5% factored into there, putting your contracted services for next fiscal year at 412, basically 413,000. And then just a few supplies, software rolling over from last year, teacher supply, and then some transportation services related to federal programs. But total service cost or supply cost is just under 10 grand, $9,500. And then still have 50,000 budget for security. And then looking down at other people activities and other expenses, board expense still sitting around 16. Memberships and dues was increased just based on actuals to 5,000. And then your field trip sitting out here at 2,500, bringing your total expenditures for Carolina Shores for next fiscal year at 3.65, and then leaving a surplus of 142,000. Which is a little over double budgeted figures from last year. In the form of surplus. Are there any questions or concerns on any of the figures? Anything needs to shift? I know we have the CSI state and federal I can add into here and kick back over. But didn't want to muddy the waters, moving things around too much right before. But is there any adjustments or amendments that y'all need to make to it? Alrighty. I can go ahead and pull over low countries. So low country acceleration, there's currently 775 students budgeted for next fiscal year, which is going to bring your state funding both through, there is some CSI state already in here and federal. Obviously, it's a lot less than what actually came through, so that's going to adjust. But like you were mentioning earlier, it's going to end up being a 1-for-1, so your general fund surplus deficit shouldn't shift. But just looking at state funding on the current budget here, it's 9.8 million projected for next fiscal year. And then federal funding sitting at 268,000. Overall, bringing your total revenue in at just over $10 million for next fiscal year. And then contracted services or management fees from Acceleration Academy is currently budgeted to be at almost 8.3 million, which obviously is going to be the bigger pocket. District fees, when you're looking at contracted services, the biggest pocket is district fees, which is unavoidable. That's the 2% fee from the district. And then transportation costs at 185. Looking at total contracted services for next fiscal year, basically $500,000 roughly is where it's currently budgeted at. and only 4,300 of those is currently slotted for federal funding. And then looking down at your supply line, biggest pocket in supply line is going to be the furniture quote, that John A. Marshall quote that you had kicked over in your email, of 35,500. Outside of that, there's some instructional supplies and then teacher supply related to restricted funds. But overall, that's just going to bring your supply costs for next fiscal year to 79,200. And then security is still remaining the same budget figure as prior fiscal year at 85,000. Your board, other expenses, and membership and dues and bank fees are also staying the same as prior fiscal year budget, which will put your total expenses budgeted for next fiscal year just shy of 9 million, which will then leave a surplus of 1.1. With the surplus being as high as it is, biggest question, I guess, just for board to kind of consider is if there's other costs that need to increase, like outfitting the new area. I know there's that furniture quote, but any additional pieces that need to be added? Do y'all have any other expected larger capital outlays for next year?
We don't at this time. It is right now, it's just the furniture costs for the Low Country North Charleston site. Somerville is currently open, fully functioning. I would love the board to come and visit. But right now, Bryce, this is, we haven't made any decisions on any other expenses.
Okay. Does
All right.
anybody
Go ahead.
sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just
No,
going to
you're
see if
fine. Go
anybody
ahead.
had any other questions.
All right. David, do we have to vote on the budget as presented or?
Yes, this would be the
Yes.
third and final vote.
Okay, all right. As such, I'd like, did someone? I didn't hear, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve the budget?
Make a motion to approve the budget.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All right. Any discussion, any questions? Last go round? Okay,
Is
hearing
that
none.
sorry, I didn't mean to
Go ahead. Go
ahead. I was just wanting to confirm just for our side too, that's approval of both or just Low Country?
So I guess the question is, does anyone have any questions on either of them? If not, this is a move to approve both unless there are any issues with one or the other. Okay. So hearing there is none, we will vote on the approval of both budgets.
I make a motion to approve both budgets.
All right. Let's get a second again if we can.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Looking to see, because we jumped ahead in the schedule. I just want to make sure we're wrapping everything up. We had this on the operations and finance. So Jacinta, is there anything else in this area that we need to address before we go back to the beginning?
No, that would be the only area for financials.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bryce.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a great evening, and whenever you get that breakdown, just kick it over to me and I can put it in there, and board two can always retroactively approve those changes. But that'll be the only edit to the budget or the actual file that's on here, but I'll get those loaded in there.
Okay, thank you so much, Bryce.
All right. Well, y'all have a great evening.
You
All
too.
right, you do the same.
See
All
y'all.
right, we're gonna go back and confirmation for a quorum, and I'm assuming that is yes. Please confirm.
Um,
Anne Marie?
She's on
You're
mute.
on mute, Anne Marie. You-
It is. I'm sorry. I was trying to get my mute button. So yes, we have a quorum. Woohoo! Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so we will move to the consent of the agenda. And that includes the approval for today's agenda and I think meeting notes for April 22nd, 2026. Before I ask for a motion, does anyone have any questions or comments about the agenda or the board meeting board meeting notes from 22 April? Okay. May I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion
Motion.
to consent the agenda.
All right, is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, the motion carries. We've already been through the finance, so we're gonna go ahead and get to the fourth item, which is the Acceleration Academies Board reports.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you, board members, for joining us. And I just wanted to give you just a few updates. You have the board report. I know we spent a considerable amount of time on the financials, so I prefer that I just give you just an overview of the board report, since it's right, you have a copy of them. There was a new bill that passed, the Senate Bill 454, passed into law on May 14th. We want to bring that to your attention because it is considered one of the most significant charter school policy updates that's impacting our South Carolina public charter school sector in years. In the coming months or weeks, you will hear from David Sunstrom, who will be offering training. This is an opportunity for our board to be trained on some of the new legislation that has come out. And so that we are all in compliance, not that we aren't in compliance with some of the updates that have been made, especially for the boards. David, I didn't know if you wanted to include anything that I may have missed in
No,
there.
no, I can't tell if I'm on mute or not. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. The image of me, the thing that I should be hitting for muting is not visible to me. Anyway, no, I think you made a point. It's a very lengthy bill, but actually the bulk of it, I personally believe serves us well. It gives us a little more flexibility in terms of how we meet student needs instead of a rigid system that had been in place. So all in all, it's relatively positive. I'm not sure if you want all the details, or I can provide a more lengthy summary if you would like a written summary.
Can you please repeat the bill number again? It was four something?
Yeah, 454.
454. There we go.
Senate. It was
Thank you.
Senate Bill 454. Yeah, it's kind of a lengthy one.
Well, we look forward to getting an orientation on it, but hopefully we'll all kind of go check it out on our own as well.
All right. Thank you. School leader evaluations are due in Epicenter by June 12th. We have done those evaluations, and so of our current school leaders. We do have test data that based on the assessments that our GCs completed, and that's state standardized, we have the scores but it's still embargoed. It's unofficial. It's not official until the State Department of Ed releases that information. And we normally don't receive that information until around November. Um, and you hope October. And so hopefully around November, you will have that information prior to our board retreat. Marketing currently, we do have at both sites, our marketing team is working closely with us on recruiting efforts. We're also working closely with the teams at each school on community outreach. There was a presentation last week to both school teams on how we can inform the the community about what supports we provide to students who need such a re-engagement model of ours. So that training has been provided. We are also looking at ways to ensure that we are retaining students. This is a time of year we see a number of our students who are having to be dropped because of our schedule isn't aligned with the traditional schedule. Our GCs are in school throughout the school year, and most times they are taking breaks when their neighbors and family members take those breaks. But rest assured, our network is closely working with each of our academies on retention opportunities. Um, for facilities, a part of the proposal that you all heard in the budget plan was additional purchase of furniture for the North Charleston campus due to an increase in the number of GCs in the last few months. So we are doing some rearrangements here. Um, Let me see. Right now, as far as personnel, I am going to give you all the opportunity to meet our interim director who's filling in and also has been a part of the interview process with us, Michelle Klein. Michelle, if you could take yourself off mute and introduce yourself to the team and give them a little bit about your background, especially how long you've been with us.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's great to be here. It's nice to meet you all. My name's Michelle Klein, and I'm currently serving as interim director of Carolina Shores Acceleration Academy. So, just a little bit about me as I live here. I'm about 12 minutes from the academy in North Myrtle Beach. I have a son and a wonderful husband, but I have been in education for over 15 years. I've worked in a lot of different school environments. So, traditional school environments, I've worked in online school environments and hybrid ones. I have been a teacher, a professional development program manager. I led as an AD for the largest school in the state, 250 staff members, and 6,300 students for large scale assessment, accountability, and educator effectiveness. I was one of the leaders in the school who helped the school move off of CSI and TSI status. I've consulted for schools and districts, and I am a passionate advocate for the charter school movement. And I'm so excited to serve Carolina Shores Acceleration Academy. I started as an academic support coach, and I really believe in the mission and vision of the schools and the great supports we can provide to the GCs that we serve. So thank you so much, and it's great to be here.
All right. Thank you so much, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle?
Welcome and thank you for being there in all the capacities you've been there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Also, our graduation is taking place at both sites. We have Carolina Shores June 4th with a total of 52 graduates. Michelle, is it 52? I know it's 50 plus.
Yes, it's 52 and 47 are participating in the ceremony. So it's really exciting.
Yes, and it's a large amount of GCs participating for us in that location. At Low Country, our graduation is June 11th, and that is at Trident Technical College. And we have a total of 73 graduation candidates who will be walking across the stage on June 11th. Our keynote for Carolina Shores is Superintendent Neely of the Public Charter School District. Our CEO, Kelly Campbell, will be opening and welcoming the families and the GCs at Carolina Shores, as well as closing. For Low Country, our keynote is Fernando Moreno, who serves as our chief of operations here. And he prides himself in always saying that he was once a GC, and definitely wants to tell the story and how his vision is about excellence regardless of your zip code. So hopefully you all will have an opportunity to attend one or both of the upcoming graduations. And as I mentioned earlier, we are very much so focused on attendance, and also and making sure that there are interventions in place for our graduation candidates who are struggling to come to school. And I want you all to know, when we are taking a look at excusals across both sites, transportation continues to be one of those areas where we see GCs are having a difficult time getting to school, and it's due to costs of fuel. Um, Many of our families have been displaced. So our team members are also working to provide resources in that sense as well. So there are some true life stories that are happening with our graduation candidates as to why attendance is not trending in the direction we would love it to go in at this time. Um, that's it. We have the information on enrollment, our pipeline. The graduates are just the numbers for the month. The numbers I gave you within the past few months of those that will be completing. But Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation of our board report. And board members, not sure if you have any questions based on the presentation I just provided.
Yes, could you give us the dates again for graduation?
Sure. June 11th is Low Country, and that's at Trident Technical College. And that is in building, I believe, 920, and they start at 11 a.m.
Okay.
And for Carolina Shores, it's June 4th, Thursday at 10 a.m.
The same building?
It is for Carolina Shores, it's at Grand Strand Conference and Business Center. And we will make sure we'll resend, and if you would, Anne Marie, resend the board members the date, time, locations of both of those
Absolutely.
graduations, okay?
Yes, will do.
All right, thank you.
All right, Jacinta, just bear with me a sec here. We've been all
Okay.
over the place, so I just want to make sure we've covered everything. You've talked about the school leader evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
We've already voted on the budget.
Yes.
Um, so I'm looking in governance, and I know some of those things were covered elsewhere. The audit engagement letter.
Right, we would need to vote on that one.
Okay. Is there anything else I'm missing before we go to vote on that?
Um, no, that looks like that's the final area to vote on. And next after that would be the discussion of Dr. James Thompson, who's joining us today.
All right, so is there anything you need to add for the audit engagement letter before we make a motion on that?
No, I just wanted to share that every year, Martin Smith and Company, which are CPAs, they do an audit of both sites. So for today is for you all to make that approval to allow Martin and Smith to conduct their annual audit of both schools as they have done so in the past.
All right, may I get a motion to approve, moving ahead with the engagement audit?
Make a motion for Mark Smith to conduct their engagement audit for both schools.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried, and we will move ahead with our audit engagement letter, for both sites, conducted by Mr. Martin Smith and Company. And Jacinta, you wanted to go ahead and introduce Dr. James Thompson?
Yes, and I know David will help me with this. So board members, we did have a resignation, and we are to have about 7 board members that are a part of the South Carolina Acceleration Academies Board. And today we present as a potential board member, Dr. James Thompson. And Dr. Thompson was referred to us by our board member who just recently resigned, which is Matthew C. Tyler. Matthew is now, I believe, a member of the Public Charter School Districts Board. So that was an appointment by the governor. And David, I didn't know if there's anything I missed, but David is going to take over and guide us on how to address Dr. Thompson. But Dr. Thompson, if you would, could provide us with an update on, give us information on who you are, and just an introduction would be great.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so kindly, Dr. Bryan, and good evening to all. I'm James Thompson. I serve as the Workforce Development Manager at the South Carolina Commission on Higher Education. Prior to that, I got into education back in 2002 as a 7th grade science teacher in the rural community of Lancaster, South Carolina. Taught for 3.5 years, got promoted to oversee a $2.6 million federal Gear Up grant, the first ever Gear Up grant in the community of Lancaster. Did that for 1 year, was pretty excited, but wanted to do more with research. So I completed my PhD at the University of Southern Mississippi with a focus on research and statistics and instructional technology. Returned back to the community of Lancaster for a few more years, served in various capacities. Advanced placement science teacher specialist, taught at an alternative academy, taught science and health at the alternative academy before moving to Richland One, which is actually, I'm a product of Richland One in Columbia, South Carolina. So I just returned home, became an assistant principal at the middle school for 3.5 years, went through a major, I don't think I shared this with Dr. Bryan, but went through a terrible car accident on a recruiting trip to Michigan State University and was out for 5 years, dealt with a traumatic brain injury. People say you recover from it, but that's not true. I celebrated my 13th year of the car accident. I'm alive and well. There's been some struggles, but I'm here as a testimony. But left K-12 to go into higher education. Traveled to 3 different institutions, served as a director for accreditation assessment at Alabama A&M University in Huntsville, Alabama, associate dean for the College of Education at Austin Peay State University. And my last stop in higher education, served as the dean for the School of Humanities, Education, Social Sciences at Voorhees University. And again, I'm back home, back to Columbia, working at the Commission on Higher Education. So that's just James Thompson professionally, but that's nothing compared to what I love. My passion is my lovely wife and raising 3 beautiful children. The oldest just is in middle school. She's a 6th grader, rising 7th grader, and we have twins, boy, girl. They're rising 4th graders. So that's James Thompson in a nutshell. Nice to meet everyone.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Pleasure
Glad to
meeting
be here.
you
Thank you.
too.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, very much appreciated. Mr. Thompson. Basically, the board can at this point, a motion can be made to add Mr. Thompson to the board. You know, and then obviously if there would be any discussion, but it would be a pretty standard routine, just motion, is it seconded and that sort of thing. So I'm
Okay.
not sure, Sally-Ann,
Make
Is
a
there any,
motion.
okay, yeah, I was gonna say, unless there's a,
Yeah.
can I get a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I make a second.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion it carries. It is our pleasure to welcome you, Dr. James Thompson, to our board.
Thank you so kindly.
We can't say how proud we are of the work and the mission of Acceleration Academies.
Absolutely.
You know, we welcome you to that too.
Thank you so kindly for the opportunity to serve.
Awesome, awesome. David, I think if we have any executive session, this is where we're at that juncture now.
yes, I did not receive anything requiring executive session. Dr. Bryant, you concurred, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so unless the board has an issue that it would like to take into executive session, it can choose to just bypass it at this point.
Okay, all right, yep. I don't know of anything either, so we will move to any public comments.
Hey, can I just ask one quick question?
Sure.
What's the progress, or has it stalled, the idea of a operation in the Midlands? And I know there's a conversation about the upstate too. Has that stalled? Is anything moving forward? Just kind of looking for an update.
Jacinta, would you like me to take that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, it is stalled. Through discussions we've had with our authorizer and the political issues that have come up in Columbia governing charter schools, they were recommending, and they felt that we are qualified to do it. They also felt that it would be very tenuous to try to add a new site this academic or this year. So they are encouraging us to simply put a hold on it and have it and set it up for next year. There are a number of undercurrents that they're dealing with that we are not privy to, but I do trust them when they basically asked us, can you consider doing this? So it's our recommendation from Acceleration Academies that it's be put on hold for the time being, and we kind of gauge what the legislature is doing and what our authorizer is comfortable with.
Thank you. And I guess I have a couple questions really. How's our retention looking of staff, considering it's kind of wrapping up at the end of the year? Do we worry about staff leaving? And I guess I was just curious about that. That seems to be a problem in schools at times. I'm not saying ours. I was just kind of curious how our retention is looking for next year.
Yeah, my understanding is it's pretty positive. Dr. Bryant, you might be more closely monitoring that, but when I was looking, it looked like things were on par, or most were going to be renewed.
Yes, our retention rate has been, as you mentioned, David, trending in the most positive direction for both sites. So far, we haven't received any resignations for any of our staff members, especially our content coaches, because that's the area where you do see a high percentage of staff members leaving within the teacher category, but so far we haven't received any resignations. Again, the director search is still open at Low Country, and that's it.
So knock on wood.
Definitely.
Thank you. I was just kind of curious.
Sure.
All right. If there aren't any more comments or questions, I would like to move towards adjournment. Is
I'll
there
make a
more?
motion to adjourn.
Okay, awesome.
I
Is there a
second.
second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? The motion carries. The next meeting is scheduled for, please tell us,
Hey, June 24th.
June 24th. Okay. All right. And of course, agenda and meeting notes and all of that will be sent out prior to that. Everybody have a fun next month. I know schools, I'm getting ready to be done for most people, so there'll be a sigh of relief for some, but not for everyone. But we'll see you back here next month.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
care.
Have a good
Thank
weekend.
you. Bye now.
Welcome, Dr. Thompson.